Guys, welcome. Boxing Gossip podcast number 11. Pleased to say we've got some of the usual suspects on the line tonight. We've got Jet, we've got Sherry, we've got Tom. Spoken to everyone, everyone's doing well. And what a week it's been. I know we've all been looking forward to this one. There's so much to talk about. So let's crack on without further ado. We'll actually go to Tom first, I think, on this one. And I guess the obvious starting point is the news of Brook versus Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. Tom, your take on that, please, mate.
Oh dear, where do you start with this? Where do you start? What do you call it? Like some people are kind of saying that, Brook, he's after pulling a rabbit out of a hat here, and after pulling off a great thing, but like, I don't know, if you ask me, it's more like he's after pulling a fucking chainsaw out of his arse. That's what I think. Like, it's such a bad fight. We were giving out about GGG fighting Dominic Wade. Dominic Wade, we'll see. Brook could be worse than Dominic Wade. It's such a bad fight, and I can't. Like, we were having some discussion in one of your in the comments of one of your videos that you did on the betting odds. It's like I can't see any way for him to win, Brook. The only way I can see him winning, right, is if that he boxes well for 4 rounds, and he's 3 rounds to 1 or 2 rounds to 1 up, and then Gennady Golovkin gets a cut eye and it goes to the scorecards and he wins. So like that's the kind of chance I give him. But like I don't know like what are the chances of that happening? Can anybody see any way that he wins this fight?
No. I was saying, stylistically for me, it is a poor matchup for Brook. I don't see how he wins at all.
Yeah, like, and he has that's the thing. Like, Amir Khan, even though I give him very little chance against Canelo, this is what your point you were making before, is that we could see how he could do it. He could box on the outside. He had a route to victory. Now it was going to be very difficult for him to pull it off. And what we saw is once the body shot started taking effect, that was the end of it. And in this one, like, I don't think Kell can box on the outside like that. Kell's style is like, he's essentially he times his jab in a 1-2. And he doesn't have loads of ring general. Like, he's kind of like Vladimir Klitschko's kind of. He's like a 147 Vladimir Klitschko. He's a lot bigger than most of the guys. He can dominate them with his size, and then he has a very good timing and reasonably fast hands in a 1-2. But outside of that, like, you look at it, his jab. Who's got the better jab? Well, Golovkin's bigger guy. He's going to have a longer reach, and he's got a brilliant jab, right? So he's probably not going to be able to win that jab because his arms are going to be smaller. Even if he's faster, he's got good timing. You can do it. Like, Carl Frampton gets by with small arms, and Billy Joe Saunders is able to time jabs well against Andy Lee. But I don't think Brook is so much better, because Golovkin's really got good timing. That's the one thing he has. He's got timing, and so like he can't use that. I don't think he can bust him up. Another thing is, you watch Golovkin, even when Golovkin's in against a hitter like Curtis Stevens, he tastes the guy's power. Once he realizes that it's not a factor, he basically adjusts his style. That was one thing he wasn't willing to risk doing versus Lemieux. He didn't basically do a stalk. He kind of boxed him. But I doubt he's like, who thinks Brook is going to be able to hit harder than fucking Lemieux? Lemieux, who's a middleweight with a super high knockout ratio. Kell is a welterweight who's he's bigger than most of the guys he's fighting, and he's not stopping a high percentage. What's his knockout ratio? Is it something like 65-70%?
I don't know off the top of my head, mate, but yeah, it's not the same as Golovkin, yeah.
Like, how many fights has Kell got? Is it 36 or something like that?
37, yeah.
I think he's got like 26 knockouts or something like that. So Christ, like, this is one thing. Like, you put Kell up against all the 154 fighters. You know, they say this bullshit about saying a guy's a big welterweight. He's a welterweight. If he was a 154 fighter, he'd be fighting in the 154 if that was his optimum division. His optimum division is 147. Now, Khan went up 8 pounds. But you can say that Khan it wasn't a really. You can say Khan is probably more like 142 pound or 143 pound would be his optimum weight. Well, Kell, I think, is probably 147. I think he kills himself to get there. So even if those you give him then 3 or 4 pounds, he's naturally bigger than Khan. You know, he's still doing like a massive jump. Like he's probably like I don't know. Like he's probably going to be heavier than he needs to. Like he's not going to be optimum fight. I think he's going to come in heavy, and it's not going to help him. So he's probably still going to be giving away weight to Golovkin, but Golovkin's going to be in perfect condition at his weight he's fighting. God knows what Kell is going to be. It's just such a terrible fight. I can't see any way. Like I can't literally. I know it sounds bad, but we were talking on in the comments of your thing. It's like 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 is on Golovkin. It's like, can I give 1 to 8, 1 to 7 say is 12.5%? Can I give 12.5% to Kell Brook? Like, he's no Sugar Ray Leonard. He's no Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, so I can't give him any more than like I think the best I could give him is 33 to 1. Like, you know.
Yeah, Tom, I got to say, mate, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think Kell's an excellent fighter, but we do have weight classes for a reason. People need to get away from the fact that Kell weighs X or Kell weighs Y. Kell is a welterweight. His frame is capable of making welterweight. I totally agree with the styles thing. Kell is an outside jabber who relies on being the bigger man and having the better jab, and he's going to be up against a guy who, brings that to the table. Very similar to Klitschko Fury for me in that sense. Totally agree with that. I also strongly agree that with people who are simply saying Kell Brook is better than Golovkin's opponents at 160 are deluded. You know, Kell Brook may be a better fighter than those guys technically, but I've never seen Kell Brook beat someone in the top 10 at 154, let alone at 160. You know, this is a different ball game. We have weight classes for a reason. One thing I did want to ask you, Tom, just very, very quickly before we move on to the other guys, is that even though I agree with everything that you've said, I actually still like the fight, despite the fact it isn't competitive. And the reason I like the fight is because it is a massive spectacle. And let's be honest, there was going to be, as we know, 2 other fights involving these 2 characters. Neither of those were able to get made. I actually think it's really, really decent that we have been left with a matchup involving these kind of fighters still. So what's your take on that one?
Oh, I don't think it's a good fight. I just think it's a shit fight. I think there'll be hype around it, and I'll definitely be interested in watching it. But it's a shit fight. Like I don't know. It's like, yeah, like I don't make a Kell a favourite against that. Apart from maybe Liam Smith, he might have a 50-50 chance there. But against all the other guys at 154, he's a heavy underdog to me. Some of those 154 guys are giants, and those guys are afraid of their shit of Golovkin, and the 168 guys are afraid of Golovkin, and the 160 guys are afraid of Golovkin. And like I saw interviews with like Eddie Hearn and with Kell Brook about this fight. You look at their body language; they don't have they know they're just selling his O. You know, like someone's O's got to go. It's not someone's O's got to go. It should be the name for the fight should be Kell's O has got to go. That's what it should be called, because there's no way like if Golovkin actually loses this fight, it'll be we look back to the one that's always said is Lloyd Honeyghan versus Don Curry, and I watched that again a couple of weeks ago, and in that Donald Curry is kind of getting a bit bust up, but it's only about 4 or 5 rounds, 6 rounds in, and he gets a bad cut and it's cancelled, so he's winning like 3 rounds to 2 and he wins it. Like that's it. That's the only chance I give him. I can't give him Anthony. I don't. The spectacle might be something, Tom, but like the thing is, we were saying the same about Amir Khan, and then Khan goes out, and you knew after about 3 rounds, maybe the 4th round, that was it, And then then you kind of feel sickened after it. You kind of feel like this is a fucking joke. You know what it is? It's such a joke. If somebody had told you, it's like you have instead of getting Canelo versus Golovkin and Khan versus Brook. We got fucking Brook versus Golovkin and Canelo versus Khan. It's like someone switched the fucking contracts at the last minute and the boys end up getting shafted and had to fight the wrong fellas. It's a total joke.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. I hear you. And I do agree what your point is about it not being competitive. For me, still, as a boxing fan, I'm still pleased the fight has been made, given that the 2 preferred matchups haven't been made. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Let me bring in Seri. Seri, I'm going to just bring you in now. I've got Seri on mute, and I'm trying to work out how to unmute him.
Press the unmute button.
Yeah, that would be it, wouldn't it? Oh my God, I can't seem to unmute him. All right, Seri, my apologies. I'm going to go to Jet, and then I'll during Jet's time. Oh, Seri, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, unmute myself.
Okay. Give us your take on this fight then.
Can you hear me properly, first of all?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, in terms of this fight, I mean, as you've said, Tom, it is the fact that it's a spectacle. We've got 2, big name, arguably big name fighters in Golovkin and Brook facing off, obviously on pay-per-view. It's not a big fight in America because it's been slated for, Golovkin, after everything he said about Khan and Canelo, he's in turn gone and done the exact same thing, hasn't he, really? But what I will say, I don't think Kell Brook will get knocked out, spark cold the way Amir Khan did. And that does not mean that I think he'll go 12 rounds either. I do think he'll get stopped, as Golovkin stopped all his fighters pretty easily from what we've seen. Brook is not a middleweight. He's not even a light middleweight. They keep saying, as Irish Thomas said, that he's a massive welterweight. That does not mean he's a light middleweight, nor does it mean he's a middleweight. If middleweights are not taking Gennady Golovkin's power, how the hell is a 147 guy going to take his power? I don't think Kell Brook necessarily got a bad chin or a suspect chin, but if he's been rocked by Carson Jones, then I think Golovkin takes him out within 4 or 5 rounds. Because as we've already just discussed, Khan, you can see the game plan, box with speed, movement, etc. Kell Brook's not necessarily super fast. He's not a one-punch knockout artist. I don't see any way he wins this fight. I hope for his own sake that he does put on a good performance while it lasts and doesn't get smashed around for 4 or 5 rounds. But I'm very, very concerned with how this fight's going to go, and I think Kell Brook will never be the same after this fight because this is a desperation move by Eddie Hearn. He's looking at it as, for months and months, they've been saying that Kell Brook's going to have a massive fight next. Then we got Jesse Vargas. That wasn't a massive fight. It was just a bout grab against the weakest champion in the division. I'm sure we can all agree on that. But they've decided to go for the biggest, the biggest, most dangerous man in boxing in that those sort of divisions, and they're going to put Kell Brook as a lamb to slaughter. So he can say, oh, you know what, I did to be great. I lost my against the most dangerous guy in the division, one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. And then that does not eradicate the other 36 fights he's had against bombs, does it really? But that's what they're looking at here. Eddie Hearn's a clever businessman, and he's managed to salvage something here. But I think Kell Brook gets knocked out badly and stopped within 5 rounds max. I'd say he'll get stopped quicker than Amir Khan.
Let me ask you, who were the person on the panel who was most complimentary to Amir Khan when he took the fight with Canelo Alvarez?
Yep.
Do you give Kell Brook the same respect, the same credit for taking this fight as you did with Amir Khan?
110%. Full credit to Kell Brook for taking the fight. I've got no issue with him taking the fight. The problem here is, what is he going to accomplish? Because he's not going to beat him, and it's not that it's impossible. It's just very, very unlikely. If we look at the basics of the fight, Gennady Golovkin, like we said, if he's stopping middleweights and they can't hang in there with him, how is a small guy going to hang in there with him? It's like, okay, with Canelo, it's arguable. He didn't stop many 154 fighters in terms of Eric Stanley Lara didn't stop him, Austin Trout didn't stop him, Mayweather he didn't come close to stopping, and obviously Amir Khan jumped up and got knocked down. We knew he had a chin, but we knew what the game plan was to box and keep it long for Amir Khan. Obviously he couldn't do it and he got knocked out. But with Kell Brook, he's not got the fastest hands in boxing. He's not got the best footwork. He's not the best mover. I can't see a way he wins.
No, I think that's fair. Styles make fights, and
Exactly.
weight classes make fights, and I don't think it matches up well for Kel on,
Yeah,
on either side.
but I do want to say, obviously, as you said, it's because I gave Amir Khan credit. Listen, I give Cal Brook 110% credit. He's doing what he needs to do. He's obviously going for a big fight. But I think, like I said, I'm sure everyone who's got a boxing brain understands that he's taking this fight as a way to try and, make us forget about the rest of his career. But I don't think it's going to work out that way. And I give him a very, very slim chance because anything can happen in boxing. But I just don't see it, man. I don't see how you're going to beat a guy as skilled and as big and as strong as Gennady Golovkin when you're a welterweight. But it is also a very dangerous fight because if Kel gets hurt in this fight, I don't think he'll ever be the same. And I think he's going to ruin the rest of his career.
Absolutely. No, I hear you, mate. I hear you, mate. Very sorry. I'm going to go to Jet for 1 second now. Jet, let me bring you in, mate. I know you and I discussed the fight on Monday when you came on the live show, but they're calling for you in the chat, mate. The people want to hear your opinion. So give us your take on this one. Also, I'd be keen to hear your opinion following on from what Tom said on, obviously this isn't the most competitive fight in the world, but given the circumstances, given the spectacle, are you happy it's been made? Because I am, personally.
Yeah, firstly, shout out to everyone calling for me in the chat. You guys are legends. And yeah, let's move swiftly on. In terms of the fight...
Jet, are they all your fake accounts you're using again?
Mate, if I had that sort of time, I would invest that, but I'm always at work, so I don't really have a life. But yeah, as I said, Kell Brook versus Golovkin is uncompetitive for me. I mean, some of the guys in the chat, they were talking about Dominic Wade and Irish Tom's comments on Dominic Wade. I, for one, think he's better than Dominic Wade. But I mean, the weight discrepancy is something that really takes its toll on me. I think I can't judge Kell until he's fought a legitimate 160-pounder full-fledged. And the comment about Lemieux is probably fair play. Like Lemieux is a big puncher for 160, and is Kell really going to punch as hard as someone like Lemieux, or even like Turiano Johnson, Curtis Stevens, and he's not really proven at the weight. I'd say his optimum weight is probably 154. I've said it on my live show on Monday and the extended thoughts video I posted the other day. So I mean, it's hard for me to judge that, but I mean, I don't really give Brook any sort of realistic chance. Someone, I think Archie Balls commented on one of my videos saying, do I give him as much chance or more chance than Eubank Jr.? I probably think it's around the same, to be honest. I don't give them both either chance. Golovkin is, probably by far and beyond the best opponent that either of them would have faced in their whole career, possibly, unless, a superstar comes along, possibly like Floyd Mayweather, and kind of trumps him. But I mean, Floyd, I'd give a chance because of how good a boxing brain he has and that sort of stuff. But I mean, Brook is very good at what he does at 147. 147 is not 160, and I think he's going to struggle. Just with the sheer talent. I think he's been in there with Porter. Porter, made it rough for him, made it tough, and he got by a close but comfortable sort of decision. He's not going to have that sort of he knows he's not going to have that sort of fight against Golovkin, and Golovkin's excellent footwork, brilliant jab, those sort of stuff are just going to come into play. The subtleties in his game, more eye-catching subtleties than possibly like if we go back to the Monday, Isaac Chilemba versus Kovalev, where Chilemba was doing the little half step, quarter step, but those are very, very little subtleties. These subtleties would be absolutely huge in comparison to those, because Kell Brook hasn't faced a top level fighter like Golovkin in probably in his whole pro career. So yeah, that's the only thing I really fear for Kell Brook. I just think he's in at the deep end and he's not going to be able to survive for too long. But I hope he does it. Good on him. Massive credit to him. Just like Amir Khan, they got balls of steel. They went up, and I'm glad to see it's at the full 160 weight class. It's not at 155 or 157. So it's at the full 160-pound limit, and it's good. It's good for Eddie Hearn. He's kept he's brought over a massive fighter. Some say the top pound for pound fighter, Some people say top 5 pound for fighter. Let's say the top 10, a top 10 legitimate pound for pound fighter, and we get to see him over on our screens, which is superb. I know TV and live is kind of different, but it's really good. He's done a job for his mate Brook, and can't really discredit Eddie Hearn too much. He's had a fantastic week, to be honest, or fantastic couple of weeks. Crawler Linares made Dave Allen versus Dillian White. Shout out to your interview with Dave Allen. That was a really good interview, actually. And there's been he's had a really good few weeks. Charlie Edwards getting a world title shot as well. So shout out to Eddie Hearn. Really, he's done a really good job, actually.
Cheers for that. Yeah. And let me just give that a plug briefly. I did an interview yesterday with Dave Allen ahead of his fight against Dillian White. Dave Allen's very, very confident, very confident. And I'd suggest if anyone's got a spare 15 minutes, do have a look at that interview. It went up on the channel yesterday. So cheers for mentioning that, Jet. But yeah, I agree with Jet, actually. I'll give Eddie Hearn credit. I like the fact he's made the big fight.
It's a shit fight, lads. It's a shit fight.
It depends how you define it, Tom. If you define a fight purely by whether it's the most competitive fight in the world, I'm inclined to agree with you. But I don't think that's all there is to this sport. I think this is a real occasion. I think this is, you're looking at two undefeated fighters. I am inclined to agree with the majority of what you're saying. But my conclusion is that it's still going to be a fascinating fight that I'm going to be absolutely excited for to watch.
But was Canelo Khan a good fight?
Well, again, how do you define a good fight? Do you mean was it an entertaining fight?
I'm just asking you whether you think it was a good fight, because I think it was a shit fight.
Mate.
And I think that the hype that's surrounding this is more possibly to do with how the fight happened. That if they were negotiating it in the open for a month, we're saying, I want to fight Golovkin, everybody would be saying, this is a useless fight, and they don't want to see it. It's just this kind of thing, the same thing that happened with Canelo and Khan. It got me, when the other day, or when it was Friday or whatever, when the news came out, I was so buzzed when it came out. I was amazed, and I was hyped. But I wasn't hyped for the fight, you know what I mean? I was just kind of shocked about all the politics and the gossip about it, But Chris Eubank has definitely got a better chance at this, lads. Chris Eubank has got a good inside fight game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I give Eubank the bigger chance. I think Brook's a better fighter than Eubank pound for pound, but at middleweight, Eubank is a better fighter than Brook, and I think that would have been a better fight. But I don't think we should compare it to that fight, because that fight didn't get made, and probably was never going to get made, as you called yourself, Tom. I think, looking at how to define if a fight is a good fight, it's done in three ways. Number one, what's the action like in the ring? Number two, is it a competitive fight? And number three, is it a fight that genuinely gives you butterflies in the morning? Now, the truth is, and this may make me a casual fan, but if I was going to your call to see a Southern Area title fight that was a dead 50-50 that I couldn't call, I wouldn't have the same butterflies as when I wake up on the morning of Golovkin Brook, and that's for me what boxing is all about.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You got one of the three there.
Well, we might have two of the three. It depends how. I agree with you that it could be easy work for Golovkin, but we'll have to see how the fight goes down, I guess.
But yeah, no, I know. I think I'm a betting man. I would think it's. I have the butterfly thing about it. It's like the Khan Canelo. You're thinking, Jesus, could he pull it off? But to me, that's the only thing that's going for it, because, in the vast majority of the outcomes that we kind of deduce here is that it's going to be a total one-side domination. Eubank versus Golovkin, on the other hand, we thought Golovkin was a heavy favourite, but that was going to be that's a good fight. That's a universally recognized top 10 middleweight taking on the number one guy. Eubank is he's probably in the top 6 or 7 middleweights in the world against the top guy. So to me, that's a good fight. I just I just
chat is coming out against you today, Tom. You're usually the people's champion, but you're taking a kicking today, mate, in the chat.
Well, mark my words, lads. Like, if you get 1 to 7 on Golovkin, that's free money. That's free money.
Yeah, you'll get a lot more than that on fight night as well. Let me tell you.
Like if you can get 1 to 5, you're getting 20% return investment, and I reckon like there's probably around a 3% risk. Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
70% over the odds.
I think you're spot on there. Yeah.
And that's just free money. And like if Brook has 3%, maybe Eubank has 5 to 10% in that fight. 5%, maybe 7% in that fight. But Brook has only got that kind of, to me, he's only got, like, the thing is, Brook's not a dancer. He can't box. He won't be able to dance and dance and dance. He hasn't got that dancing style. I think if you have a dancing style, you might be able to get around Golovkin and just constantly circle, like Lara has a dancing style. But Brook never shows that dancing, because Brook is actually quite muscular. Usually the dancers tend to be more lithe characters. So he's got no. I just can't see him dancing it. I just think he's going to get hit with the first heavy Tudden body shot, and like he'll feel it, like Khan felt it. And he'll get caught on the ropes, and he'll get bust up, and from then on, it'll just be a matter of time.
Yeah. People in the chat are giving you stick over the 1 to 7 comment, but I'll agree with Tom there. If you're a big-time gambler, if you're a pro gambler, if you're someone who doesn't just gamble for a fiver for fun, but actually gambles as a way of life, 1 to 7 is what gets the professionals involved. People go down and stake serious amounts of money on a 1 to 7 that they think is the right play. So we're not talking here, that's the kind of bet for you to stick a fiver on and have a beer with. But potentially, if you're a serious gambler and you're getting 1 to 5 on the night, that is a bet to look at. But let's move on from that. Let's bring Surrey back in. I think I've got you on mute again, mate. If you could unmute yourself, Surrey. I'm keen to hear your take on the Eubanks within all of this, Surrey. Where does this leave the Eubanks? How has this whole saga affected their image from your perspective?
I think with the Eubanks, it just it kind of goes to show how overprotective Chris Eubank Senior is and how delusional he is as well. I mean, I didn't want to think that way. But I mean, after hearing the interview with IFL TV and Eddie Hearn saying the demands that Chris Eubank Senior put in, he clearly has lost the plot. You can't go controlling another promoter's show in terms of, especially if that guy's your son's promoter. You can't be expecting to run the purses for the undercard and this and that. Logistically, it doesn't make any sense. If he's your son and that's all good and well, you want to protect him and get him the best purse possible, that's fine, but leave it at that. There's no need to get that far into it. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. had anything to do with that. I don't think he docked Golovkin. I'm not going to even insinuate that, because I think Eubank Jr. genuinely wanted to fight. I think Senior, he just messed up for his son big time, and now I think I read a tweet yesterday saying that they've left Matchroom again. If that is the case, this is a terrible, terrible time for Chris Eubank Jr. And I don't know where his career goes from here, because the only place he can really go to is either the Sauerlands or Al Heyman, but I don't know which one would be the most sensible thing to do.
Frank would have him back, wouldn't he?
No. Frank, we've seen in many interviews, said that he hasn't got the time or the energy left to deal with someone like Chris Senior. And I don't know if anyone has seen the interview with Seconds Out, Radio Raheem and Eubank Senior.
Yes, that got taken down, didn't it?
That got taken down, obviously, now, apparently legal reasons being something to do with Mr. Frank. So, he always has a legal letter waiting for anyone who mentions their name, so I think we need to be careful as well what we say. Yes. It's one of those things where I don't know where Chris Eubank Jr. goes from here. The Billy Joe fight is pretty much dead in the water as it stands, but that is literally the best option for him. Golovkin's not going to want to go through all this again, knowing that Chris Eubank Sr. is involved. I think he'll be put off for life, if anything, unless Chris Eubank Jr. goes and wins the WBO belt off Saunders, and that's the only way he's going to get Golovkin in the ring. Otherwise, there's no benefit to fighting someone like Chris Eubank Jr. now, especially if he's not with Matchroom. He hasn't got the Sky Sports platform, the whole this whole talk about the model of Anthony Joshua, Carl Froch that Eddie Hearn was talking about. That pay-per-view model is now not going to be available to him because he's not with Matchroom apparently. So they've well and truly messed up his career, because I don't know where he goes, and Hennessy's not going to want him back. Sauerlands might take him, but who have they got that he can fight? And then I really just I feel bad, because I like Chris Eubank Jr. as a guy, as a fighter. I think he's got a ton of potential, and marketability wise, he's similar to Anthony Joshua. I think he's got a very, very bright future ahead of him. But where does he go? this is a question I'd pose to everyone else. Where does he go from here?
I mean, I've got two thoughts on that. Firstly, Sauerlands is a very solid option because you see with what they've done with George Groves, effectively George Groves doesn't deal with Eddie Hearn, but George Groves is still on the Eddie Hearn cards. He's still appearing on Sky. He's still appearing on Sky pay-per-views. So very potentially, the Sauerlands could sign Chris Eubank, and Chris Eubank could still fight on the Sky setup, although not be associated with Eddie Hearn. A second option is that apparently Chris Eubank Sr. is going to look at becoming a promoter, and apparently Chris Eubank Sr. could have some sort of deal himself with a new TV channel, be that ITV, be that BT Sport, you know, maybe even Dave, something of that nature. I guess a sort of a third option, and this is the option that I would take if I was Chris Eubank, is that, look, clearly they're annoyed about how this situation has developed, but if they actually learn from it, potentially the Eubank-Golovkin fight, if they ever wanted it in the first place, which is a big if, potentially that fight is actually going to be bigger. If Eubank Jr. fought on the undercard of this and then fought the winner towards the end of the year, that would be even bigger for me. So, you know, I still think there's options out there for him. Out of those, sorry, what do you think is more realistic?
Out of those options, I think the best option for him would be to stay with Matchroom if the doors are still open to him. But Chris Eubank Sr. going for a promoter's license, I don't think anyone's going to give him a promoter's license. The way he behaves, the way he is, you can't. He's a bit of a loose cannon. You don't know what he's going to say, what he's going to do. It's too risky. He's not with the risk, is he really? And apart from being a big name in the past, what else has he got going for him? You know, the fact that, you know, he's, in boxing sense, he's only got his son, you know, in that regard. But I mean, he hasn't got any big name fighters or prospects signed to him. It's literally just Eubank Jr. and he's just too overprotective of him, and he's not going to let his son fight any big names unless the deal's right. So, in that regard, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, Tom. I'm just baffled. I don't understand where Chris Eubank Jr. goes from here. I just don't get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jet, let's bring you on that one, mate. Give us your thoughts on the future for Eubank and what route he is going to take and what route he should take.
I put out a video when I was talking about Kell Brook, and I said Eubank Jr., of course, he's got one fight left on the Sky deal that there's been rumours that he might be exempt from that if they didn't get the Golovkin fight. Obviously, they've been talking for about a month for Golovkin, and they haven't got it. For me, obviously, Eubank Sr. is obviously, you know, destroyed Junior's biggest payday by far. They were talking about £3 million. That's a lot of money. I think, you know, he's never earned even close to £1 million. £1 million. Sorry, and he really messed it up for his son. You know, I don't know where he really goes from here. He's burnt, well, his dad and his promotional team, and, you know, well, the managerial team have really ruined it for Eubank Jr. Mick Hennessy, I don't think they want to work with him, but they might take him on for the odd fight in here and there. Frank Warren obviously thinks, you know, Eubank Sr. is completely deluded and he doesn't want to work with him at all. Outlined with the, you know, the taking down of that video on Seconds Out. You know, Eddie Hearn said he doesn't mind working with him again. He could potentially be on the undercard in that long 50-minute or so video, but he said, I don't know how it's going to fare because I don't know if they're going to accept terms that they give them next time out and who it's against and that sort of stuff. So the thing is, I know, you know, people will say, oh, look, it's Golovkin and we need big money to fight Golovkin because it's a huge risk, that sort of stuff. But if he's accepting the terms against people like Tom Doran, why wouldn't he accept, you know, reasonable, very reasonable terms, £3 million to fight Golovkin? Why would he want to, you know, take care of the undercard and take care of the purses of the undercard fighters? And let's not forget, there's some good fighters on the undercard. Charlie Edwards is on the undercard against John Ro Casimiro. He's fighting for a world title in his night fight. Lee Haskins and Stuart Hall got added to the bill today as well. So you're saying you're going to pay them because they're, you know, flyweights and bantamweights, they're going to pay them 20 grand each. It's not really fair in the grand scheme of things. So you know, I think that's Eubank Jr. just being massively fame hungry and thinking about loads, thinking about his own pocket, really, to be honest. So I mean, the realistic option is to stay with Matchroom. Eddie Hearn might not be as I don't know, emotionally invested possibly, but he certainly wouldn't want to put a lot of hard work in to get a Golovkin again, or get a big name in the top 10. So maybe Lemieux or Canelo. Obviously Lemieux might come over, but Canelo would certainly not come over. He'd have to go over to the States. But the big names, I don't think Eddie Hearn would actually bother trying to put any sort of meaningful effort to get them to get Eubank Jr. the fight. So apparently he doesn't even talk with Eubank Jr. So he said he's all right, but his dad is an absolute nightmare to deal with, and he was just that interview that he did was very, very telling. I think it outlines how some people, not just Eubank Senior, he's probably the cream of the crop in terms of really nasty management, that sort of stuff. But there are other people. Barry McGuigan's not the nicest person to work with, it seems, at times. Eddie Hearn's probably not the nicest person to deal with at times as well. He said, self-managed fighters like Tony Bellew are, they're brutal in terms of what they want. They say we want this amount of money, we're not budging from this, and it is hard being a promoter. But we should take everything they say with a pinch of salt at the end of the day. Eubank Jr. should stay with Matchroom for me, but if not, and he's got really no options, Al Heyman, PBC are there. He can move over to the States and make a killing on PBC as well. So he's still got he's got limited options, but he's still got one or two viable options here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we'll move on from this one because we are running. We're spending a lot of time on it. But one thing I will say briefly is I know Frank Warren, the Eubanks, there's tension there. That's obvious from what we've seen. Business comes first. If a fight can make 7 figures, if a fight between Eubank and Billy Joe Saunders were to become possible, I genuinely believe that fight and that previous tension wouldn't stand in the way. Etc. But let's move on and let's talk. Yeah,
can I just say one thing quick here? It's like you're saying, where does Eubank go from here? I think he should go to social services and see if he can get rid of his dad, because he's trouble. The other thing is like the whole thing about whether Eubank and wanted that fight. I don't know if anybody here watches The Walking Dead, but there's a scene in The Walking Dead where Rick and the governor are meeting to try and negotiate a truce, and the governor says to him, what I want is your unconditional surrender, and Rick was like, essentially, fuck you. So the governor there had no interest in negotiating. He wanted to put forward some completely unacceptable things to Rick so that he could look like he made an effort. And that's what Chris Eubank Sr. did. He basically he just knew he didn't want to have the fight. We wanted all the stuff from it, and he gets everything he wanted. He didn't want the fight, and he gets loads of promotional stuff from it. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point, mate. Certainly, they've got a huge amount of hype from this, and you were saying all along that the fight wouldn't happen. To be fair, Tom, so perhaps if that was the case, they've achieved their goal. Let me ask you, Tom. Dillian Whyte versus David Allen. I know I spoke about this briefly with Jet, but what's your take on that fight? Do you see that as a competitive matchup, Tom?
Sorry. Yeah. What was the question?
Dillian Whyte versus Allen. Is that one you see as competitive, mate?
Yeah, I think that's quite a good fight. I've listened to your interview, and I've watched another interview today on IFL with your man, and I think
my one was better, wasn't it?
Yours was excellent. I was blown away because your answers were so poignant. No, I think that he's got a good chance. Like, I saw him interviewed, and he was talking about how he's got an engine, and he is sparring the top guys. He's sparring Joshua, and he's sparring Furies all the time. So he's obviously got a bit of something to him. Dillian is not as tricky or as awkward as Gavin. you know. But so I think he's got a chance. And he says he's a chin. He's never been dropped. Not since he was 16 when he was a middleweight by a cruiserweight. So he's got a chin. He's got a good engine. And he's fit. He looks fit. I saw him in that interview today. He's saying he's like 16 stone something. So he's not overweight. He looks in good enough shape. You know, there could be a chance of an upset there. But it's very hard to know. It's one of those fights where you don't have enough evidence about a guy to know what level he's at. So I would say that he probably has, just going on instinct, I'd go he's got an underdog, a good underdog's chance. He might have a 20% chance. He might be 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
Yeah, he's 7-2 with the bookmakers, which I know a lot of people. I know Mikey in the chat is on it. I know a lot of people think that's value, mate.
Yeah, we have there's one thing. We haven't. He's basically as untested as Dillian White was when he went to fought Joshua. That's the level,
yes.
So Minto or Gavin, take your pick. Gavin is probably more awkward. Well, I don't know. So, it's one of those things. It's like I think Eddie is probably thinking, oh, Dillian will win this one. But if he doesn't, he'll probably just think, oh, we got another domestic heavyweight, and he'd probably sign for us. So I don't think he's too. Maybe he wants Dillian to win. I sort of think maybe the politics might be working against him.
Do you know what? That did occur to me, actually. That really did occur to me, which is that Dillian White is so key to Eddie Hearn's business right now. Dillian White is a new signing. He's hugely marketable. There are literally millions of pounds to be made out of Dillian White. Eddie Hearn would not be sticking him in with Dave Allen unless he was very, very confident that Dillian White walks through Dave Allen. The Joshua White rematch for a world title is something that can do 500,000 pay-per-view buys easy with the right build-up. So Eddie Hearn will only be making this fight very, very comfortable that Dillian's going to win it, and that's a negative in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true, but he did only give him 2 or 3 weeks' notice, so he's stacking the deck in his favour. The other thing I'd say is that your man Allen is a good talker. He's a really good talker. So that if he actually did pull the upset, he's a talker. He could talk himself way into a big pay-per-view fight. The other thing I'd say is that if it's a tight result, if it goes to points, and this is kind of the way that Allen is talking. He's talking like, I'm going to take him to 12 rounds, and if he's not able to do 12 rounds, I'll win. So if it does go 12 rounds and it's reasonably close, or if it's 5-7 to Allen or 7-5 to Allen, it'll go the other way. That kind of way.
Yeah, no, I hear that. It's certainly up against him. Do you know what? I don't think it will go 12 rounds. I think we're talking about 2 guys. Dillian White is at career heaviest in his last fight. Neither of them have been beyond 7-8 rounds, I don't think. I think we got 2 inexperienced green heavyweights. Both of them are going to come for a fight. I think it's unlikely to go 12. Let's bring yourself in, Seri, on this particular one. Seri's just dropped off. Let's bring yourself in, Jet. I know we have mentioned this one previously, but give us your take on it, mate.
Yeah, good fight, 50-50 fight for me. The thing that makes it more interesting is it's at about 3 weeks' notice. So, they're not going to be at peak physical condition, that sort of stuff, 110%, but they'll be close enough. Dillian White obviously came in at a career heaviest in his last fight against Bakurin. Dave Allen didn't look great at all against Jason Gaverne. So, you don't really know. You kind of have to go off their previous performances. And they haven't really faced anyone of note. I mean, the first meaningful opponent Dillian White faced was Anthony Joshua, and he got KO'd in 7. So I mean, it's very hard to say, but it's a very good fight. As I said, Eddie Hearn's done well to get it on, and I agree with you, BG. I think you're absolutely spot on when you say Dillian White is key to the matchroom business. He certainly is. He's obviously signed him for a reason, to get that AJ rematch, to get those other big domestic clashes. We know Chisora's obviously been tailing him, following him into his matchroom signing in the hotel. And, David Price is also in and around that mix. We know Dillian White versus Sam Sexton was supposed to be for the British, but they haven't really got back to them. He said Eddie Hearn said he's going to go back and ask them if they can make this for the British, and the winner will face Sam Sexton, which he thinks they may decline. But yeah, hopefully it is for a belt. It's not just for the WBC International. This is a much better fight than White Sexton anyway. So you know, and it's on a good bill as well. So it'll certainly get the crowd pumped for a, you know, more or less, for me, a dull main event. I don't think the main event's that great, Warrington versus Highland, but you know, this fight will certainly, you know, it won't go 12 for me. Dillian White will either gas and you know, Dave Allen might stop him possibly to the body. That's I bank on that because Dillian White's got a pretty good chin, or Dillian White will, you know, KO him in early to mid rounds for me. It's one of those two really. So yeah, as I said, the interview was good. It gives us an insight into Dave Allen's thoughts. He does, you know, have some sort of self-belief, and but he also realizes he is up against that at times. And Dillian White is a big puncher. Oh, we've lost Tom, I think. But yeah,
just the two of us, Jet.
Yeah, just like Monday, mate.
I know. I'm sure they'll come back on, both Surrey and Tom. I think Surrey was just driving, so he's probably finished, and Tom's got the worst internet connection in the world. So yeah. Well, let's mix it up a little bit, Jet. We're still going to discuss Charlie Edwards, and also we're going to discuss the Kovalev fight. But I'm mindful that you and I discussed those when we spoke on Monday. So let's change the pace slightly, and we'll come back to those. Do you want to tell Wilder? Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, I got a topic. If you want to talk about Wilder Areola later, we could do that. So when everyone comes back, Roman Gonzalez has been rumored to be moving up to super flyweight. He's going to face Carlos Cuadras on the same day as Brook versus Golovkin, September 10th in the States for the WBC super flyweight title. If you want to talk about that and how he might move up and that sort of stuff, if you want to talk about that, we can do that. Unless you want to talk about Wilder Areola. Yeah,
it's one of those, Jet, where, as you know, my knowledge on the lighter weights is very weak, and that's certainly a fight that's worth discussing, certainly a fight worth investigating. But I know it's just been developing as we've been live, and I'm going to need to sit down and have a little flick through, because in terms of the opponent, I know the name, but I can't say I can instinctively refer to 3 or 4 of his previous fights. But what's your take on that matchup? Is that a competitive fight?
Yeah, Cuadras is pretty decent. He's been reigning, I think he's 40-0, something like that, at Superfly. He's had a fair good fights. You know, he's been reigning for a while. So, you know, Roman Gonzalez, in his first fight, he's going to be up against it at certain spots. Hello, Irish Tom again. But yeah, so he's gonna be up against it only because, you know, he's, as I said, you know, going back to the Kell Brook sort of thing, he's moving up first time. He's going to be fighting in a big fight. So you know, there's no guarantee. It's not a gimme fight for Roman Gonzalez, but you know, this fight could have potential to make him look, you know, bad at times. So you know, that in regards to, you know, not talking about this fight explicitly, it might affect his pound for pound ranking. Many people will have him in the top sort of 3 or 4. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on where Roman Gonzalez rates in the top sort of 4 or 5. But obviously, I think you'd have to investigate that further to give a realistic, you know, outlook.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Roman Gonzalez, very good fighter. I think of him in the same light as I think of Golovkin at present, which is just dominant within their own division, have not fought the elite pound for pound level opposition in order to justify the conversation of top 3 pound for pound. Certainly top 7, top 8 for both of them. Possibly, if I looked into it and tried to write it down, maybe on the cusp of top 5. Certainly not top 3. That's kind of how I'd look at it for those two. But I know people have a different opinion, but so many fighters are referred to as the pound for pound number 1 post Mayweather. You know, you hear Rigondeaux is the pound for pound number 1, Gonzalez is the pound for pound number 1, Golovkin's the pound for pound number 1. You know, people don't seem to refer to Andre Ward and Kovalev and Manny Pacquiao as the pound for pound number 1. and those are the three who I'd favour for now. But let's we'll jump over to Tom, because I'm anxious that we've got a lot to get through before we finish up tonight. So I want to keep the topics moving. Tom, did you get a chance to see the Kovalev versus Chilemba fight, mate? And if you did, keen for your take on that and your thoughts on Kovalev Ward.
Yeah, no, I did see it, and it was quite a good fight. I thought Chilemba did well. You know, he's a very good defensive boxer. The only problem is that, you know, he doesn't have the right balance of attack and defense. His instinct is nearly always defensive, and you know, he could be he could be a hell of a good boxer if he had a slightly different mentality. But he certainly displayed a lot of defensive skills, and he gave Kovalev a lot of trouble. I know you guys probably had it a bit closer than I had it. I probably had it 8-4 or 8-3. I had it, but he showed a lot of things that I think Andre Ward are going to look at and say, I can do that, and I can exploit things much better. Like, one thing he did was that I think what you don't want to be against Golovkin, or not Golovkin, Kovalev is in you know, that 3/4 range. You don't want to be on the end of his right hand, and so Chilemba was constantly moving his feet back, you know, so he was constantly staying on the outside, and he's got long arms, and he was responding with a jab. Now, I don't think Ward will have the long reach, and he mightn't be able to hit him as easy from range. But what Ward will do is, when Kovalev overreaches or makes some errors, he will step into him, and he will basically take away his, because you see in that fight, Kovalev had no inside game. So when Ward is inside in you, like, he'll land 3 or 4 punches to every one of your one, and that really wears you down. So I think it shows that Kovalev struggles with top boxers. The only boxer that I know that I can remember, a top boxer he met before, was Bernard Hopkins, but that's a 49-year-old Bernard. So it's very hard to give him too much credit for outboxing a 49-year-old. You're just timing or whatever, this would be gone. But so I think that should affect the odds. I think that, like, if Chilemba is able to take 3, 4, and 5 rounds on some people's cards, you know, Andre Ward is a vastly superior boxer. Andre Ward has every single trick in the book. He mightn't have the power, but he's got every trick in the book. He mightn't have the reach, but he's going to be so effective. I think it's going to be quite a dirty, spoiling fight. I think Ward's going to bring it on the inside as much as possible. I think he's going to dominate there. And I don't know. Well, what are the odds now? Because it was 10-11 both sides. Can you check the odds, Tom?
Yeah. I'll have a look at the odds. Sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, I think I make Ward I was thinking it was a 50-50 fight, but I was going for Ward. But now I think Ward is favourite. I think I make Ward. I think it's a 60-40, 65-35 fight.
Yeah, I think Box Nation did a poll on Twitter the other day, and they had like 80% of people saying that Ward was going to win. Jet, I know we spoke about it on Monday, mate. I'm just looking at the odds now. Has your thoughts developed on it at all as you've reflected on it in terms of that Ward-Kovalev fight?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it briefly on Monday. I mean, I did mention that I said I did change my mind slightly. I was leaning more towards Ward. But I said, I mean, I've been hearing some sort of stuff that Kovalev wasn't well at all during his camp, so that may have affected his, affected his performance. But I thought Chilemba was very, very, not slippery. He was more so like, he was just fidgety. He was there and he was irritating Kovalev's rhythm, and it was the little half step. I know they were talking about it on Box Nation, but I was actually watching it at times without the commentary, because they were irritating me. I don't like Box Nation commentary, same as Sky, to be honest, as well. But he was just doing a little half step, little quarter step, and every time Kovalev would come in and catch him a few times, you know, Chilemba would pop out his left lead jab, and it would knock Kovalev's head back. And I mean, you can't be doing that against Andre Ward, because he can pick you off from range as well. but also he can rough you up, headbutt you, use elbows and dirty tactics in the in the clinch and inside, similar to how he did against Mikael Tesla in the Super 6 tournament. So I mean, this fight is really it's really tough to call, but I'm going to edge with Ward, and I like Crusher. I'm going to edge with Ward on this fight. There was an article with Andre Ward on Boxing Scene actually. I don't know if you guys checked it, but he said now Kovalev's faced Chilemba and he didn't look good. Now everyone's giving me a better chance than what was before. Everyone's saying Kovalev's going to knock me out before, and he was continuing, and he said everyone's trying to discredit me and put my achievements down and that sort of stuff. So he was just trying to I think build up some sort of public and moral support. But resume, yeah.
Jet, you had Kovalev pound for pound #1. What does it do to that?
Do you know what? His resume.
Good question.
Resume. I don't know how you guys did. I know BG puts it purely on resume, but in terms of talent and skill, and resume, it's very hard to rate my #1 now. But then again, who is #1? Andre Ward. I can't rate Andre Ward because of his inactivity. I mean, he's been thoroughly inactive, and for me, a Paul Smith and Sullivan Barrera win 2 wins in about 2.5 years. I can't put him at #1. If Manny Pacquiao was still currently active, I've heard rumors about Adrian Broner, but they're not paying him the sort of money that he wants. But if he was still active, I'd put Manny Pacquiao #1. But pound for pound #1 is probably vacant now. It's definitely vacant. I can't put someone there at this current moment in time. But yeah, certainly he's not #1 at the moment on terms of that performance. Chilemba stole multiple rounds of him, and he did not look good at all. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that, Irish Tom.
Yeah,
Tom, let me just give you the odds, mate, because I've just got them up. Top price on Ward is 4-5 with Stan James, but most bookmakers are going 4-6, and in places some of them have gone 4-7. In terms of the Kovalev side of the play, general consensus seems to be about 6-5. Top price is available currently on the Betfair exchange and with Paddy Power of 5-4. So the odds have changed
quite a bit
in a relevant way. Yeah, I mean, to people who don't know about gambling, from 10-11 to 4-6, that's a real shift.
Takes a lot of money on if it's a sizable market. It takes a lot of money to in a 2-horse race to push it down. Yeah, there's a I don't know if anybody follows there's a guy called Barry Robinson, a boxing trainer. He does videos on YouTube, but he's done one on doing some video analysis of Chilemba versus Kovalev, and he's pinpointing a number of weaknesses in that. One thing he was saying was that Kovalev becomes quite emotional when he gets hit. He tries to immediately respond and overreach, and he was saying that Andre Ward will just pick him off where Chilemba is not. He's not attacking enough a fighter to do it, and other times when Andre Ward will be able to step in, and if Kovalev's given Andre Ward a lot of chances to step in, I know they're different fighters, so he might be more on his toes. But one thing Kovalev did well in that fight, though, he would jump in and he would jump out at distance too. So maybe when he's fighting Ward, he did that with Hopkins quite a lot too. He comes in with his shot and he gets out of the. Manny Pacquiao does this kind of thing where his foot speed is so quick, he gets in and he gets out really quick. So if Kovalev does that kind of thing, I'm sure he'll have a different game plan for Ward. But Chilemba was a very good opponent to prepare himself for Ward, and he didn't look good. That's all I'm going to say.
No, that's I think that's a fair analysis. And Tom, sticking with you briefly, Charlie Edwards world title fight. Is that news to you? Is that something you're interested in?
I've seen Charlie Edwards fight a couple of times. I went and checked out the guy who he is fighting today when he had a rematch with when the Thai guy, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce his name.
Run wrong, I think his name is.
Yeah, I haven't seen it written down, so there's no way I'm going to have a go at it. But yeah, and he was supposed to be reasonably decent, that guy, and your man knocked him down, and he hurt him properly. So don't know too much about it. I'm sure it's one of the cheapest world title fights you could put on.
Yeah, I think that's right, actually. Yeah.
You know, are any of them getting paid 20 grand?
I think they'll be getting paid 20 grand, but probably not much more than that.
You know,
Dave Allen's getting paid about 10 grand, I think. He's getting paid 20 grand, and after all his expenses have been paid, I think he's getting paid 10 grand to himself. He put it on Twitter, actually. So
20, yeah.
Yeah, stranger things have happened.
And they're heavyweights. Heavyweights
yeah,
get
exactly. Yeah.
hit. They get hit.
Yeah.
It's a brutal sport. Jet, I know we discussed that one the other day, mate. The news is Mikey's just left it in the chat actually that Edwards is a 6-4 underdog with the bookmakers. So I know you're a bit more clued up potentially than Tom and I on this sort of division. So what do you make of that as a price?
Yeah, I mean that's a good price. I take a punt at that. You know, as I said on Monday, Casemiro is what he is. He has a couple of losses on his record, debatable losses. He beat the Thai fighter Runrong. You know, he beat him probably in the first fight, close decision, but he lost. And Runrong has been known to get a couple of dodgy decisions in Thailand. So you know, he probably beat him quite easily there, as in terms of he should have got the decision and he didn't. Second time round, he went and beat him in 5 rounds, KO'd him. So I mean, it's tough for me. You know, for me, if Edwards gets involved in a scrap, I'll say it again. If he gets involved in a scrap, he's going to lose this fight. This guy can bang. Casemiro, he can bang, he can hit, and you know, if he punches you, you're going to feel it. He's a 2-weight world champion, IBF super flyweight champion, IBF flyweight champion. So the problem is, I think we didn't talk about this on Monday, is if Charlie Edwards wins this fight and he sticks to his boxing, if he wins the fight, he becomes IBF champion. And if he's IBF champion, look at the guys at flyweight who are current champions. Roman Gonzalez is obviously, as we just spoke about, probably moving up, but he's a champion still at the weight. He's a lineal and WBC champion. Juan Francisco Estrada is probably the second best at the division. He's WBA and WBO champion, and he'll be the IBF champion. So he's in and against. He's in and around against the top sort of fighters. Andrew Selby is obviously at British. He's holding the British title. So yeah, at flyweight there isn't the sort of experience that you can get with at heavyweight with someone like Anthony Joshua, who can learn on the job with the Bermain Steverns and those sort of guys, Brian Jennings. But at flyweight you don't really have that sort of depth of fighters, and I think Charlie Edwards is going to find out really quickly if he faces another elite opponent and he gets beat. He shouldn't be too hard on himself, because the guys at that sort of top elite level of flyweight, super flyweight, light fly, they're really, really tough to beat. I mean, they're really, really good, skilled fighters in their own right, and him winning a world title should be reward enough. Keeping it will be very hard, but I think he has a good chance. It's a good bet. 4-6. I'd go for that.
6-4 against with Casemiro 1-2 on. So yeah, potentially.
Well, I'm surprised he's 1-2 on Casemiro. I didn't think he'd be that strong. Slightly strong, but I mean, Casemiro. The thing is, he has 3 losses on his record, so I didn't think the bookmakers would do that. But they may know something we don't. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about money a second ago. I guess Charlie Edwards fighting on undercards. I wouldn't want to speculate on how much he's earning, but we're probably not talking the sort of money where he's driving around a Ferrari. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
so.
No, I think he was only rated in the IBF anyway. He wasn't rated in any of the other organizations. So,
I'd say they're going to get him, and then they're going to match him up with Roman Gonzalez straight off.
Well, you missed it, Tom.
They're going to try and get him to dominate everything.
No, Roman
Gonzalez has got Quadras, is it?
Yeah, so I don't.
Damn it, there goes that one. They'll have to put him in with the other guy then.
Estrada, yeah, possibly, yeah. I mean,
you reckon? Come on now.
You're a champ. As I said, you're a champion. You're going to be targeted, and flyweight is not the sort of division that you're going to get away with it. I mean, Cal Yafai's fighting for a world title in at Birmingham in sort of October, November time, and at Superfly you don't really have the sort of depth. From bantamweight onwards you have a bit more depth. If you look at the slightly lower weight classes, you have featherweight, you have a wealth of talent there. You have Frampton Santa Cruz fighting in a couple of weeks. You have this, possibly Scott Quinn moving up. Vasyl Lomachenko's just moved up. Gary Russell Jr. Joseph Diaz is a prospect. Oscar Valdez is fighting for the vacant WBO title. So, that's just a few fighters there. I mean, at flyweight, you have pretty much the same sort of fighters in terms of talent, but there isn't the sort of depth there. And Charlie Edwards might get found out pretty quickly, especially only having, he has a fight upcoming, I think, this weekend, actually, in Germany, but with 9 pro fights, I think he might get found out.
Maybe if Cal Brook pulls out, they might throw him in with Golovkin.
Let's bring Suri back in, because I know he's just rejoined the call. Suri, are you there, mate? You are on mute.
Hello, yeah, I'm here, mate. I'm here.
Hello, mate. Yeah, what we've been talking about, as you probably heard, we've been talking about Charlie Edwards' world title fight. We also did a quick run round of the Kovalev versus Chilemba fight and how that affects Kovalev's chances against Ward on the lead up to that fight. So if you've got anything to add on either of those two topics, really, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Kovalev and Chilemba fight, it showed that Kovalev is not invincible and that styles make fights, you know what I mean? Chilemba is obviously a durable guy. He did get knocked down and he did lose the fight, clearly, but he did give him some trouble with the jab. And overall, I think Chilemba, he did himself justice for what he is, but that kind of further gave me a bit more confidence in my picking Andre Ward. But I was quite, as soon as that fight was kind of being talked about, it's not that I'm underrating or Sergey Kovalev or not giving him any credit, but I just feel that Sergey Kovalev will not be able to beat Andre Ward. I think Andre Ward is special. I think he's too good. He's fought at light heavyweight in the amateurs as well, so in the Olympics. So I'm not really bothered about the weight as such. Sergey Kovalev obviously has power and he's hurting guys, but I think Andre Ward as a package will beat Kovalev on the night, and I'm as confident in that pick as I was with the Keith Thurman and Sean Porter picks. Say what you want about that, or but I'm not saying it that sound cocky. It's just I'm that confident that Andre Ward will win. It's one of those things. I think as we were saying, you've got your Mayweathers, you've got your Wards. These guys, put them in with anyone, I think they'll always find a way to win, whether it's pretty or not. They will find a way to win because that's what they do. And you don't get fighters like that very often, but in that regard, I do feel a lot more confident now picking Andre Ward, but I was already confident anyway. But point being, with the Charlie Edwards situation, I think that's a good little fight to add to the undercard of Kell Brook and Golovkin. It shouldn't be too expensive to add to the undercard as well, but obviously Charlie Edwards is young and he is. Would it be right to call him a prospect at this stage?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Prospect we're trying to do a Lomachenko and throw him in there. Was what you think he's 7-0, isn't he? 7-0
I think 9-0 maybe.
9-0 something. Okay, so
I think so. He's 7-0. He's 7-0.
Oh, is he 7-0? Yeah.
So he's
got
still,
this weekend against a journeyman.
He's still in the single digits. He's not really fought anyone of high caliber. So
he's 7-0. He's 7-0 and he's 9 years old.
He looks like Luke Campbell, mate. They both look like
babies. Yeah. So I think that Charlie Edwards they're obviously confident, and there's Eddie Hearn wouldn't do that if there wasn't a reason behind it. So they've obviously seen something, or there's something going on. But and they're in cahoots with the IBF. You know how they are with the IBF. They love the IBF matchroom. But yeah, fair play to Charlie Edwards. He's a young prospect, as we just said. I don't really know how good either of them are, if I'm honest with you. So we have to see them fight night. But I think it'll be these sort of the lighter weights. They have good scraps. So I'm looking forward to this fight either way. Yeah,
one thing I said to Jet, sorry, was that Lomachenko versus Salido fight. That's Lomachenko clearly the better fighter of the two, but basically outfoxed by like a veteran. Someone who could rough him up, someone who knew some veteran tricks, for want of a better word. Do you think there's a big risk something like that could happen to Edwards?
Oh yeah, of course. I think when you throw someone in who's hasn't got that many professional bouts under the belt, figuratively speaking, I don't think it's the best move, especially when you've got a world champion. Obviously, look, the word world champion in today's day and age can mean many things. Obviously, there's so many belts, but I mean, in regards to a guy who's clearly got experience and he's fought, a good level of competition. And yeah, he's got 3 losses, but you know he's a good fighter. There's a reason why he's got a belt. You know what I mean? He's obviously got some sort of skill behind him. But Charlie Edwards is unproven as of now, so you know it's a tricky one because we have to see what he produces on the night. It could just be his night. It's written in the stars with Tony Bellew, Crawler, these guys. It was all written in the stars. They managed to do it.
And Kell Brook, don't forget Kell.
Kell Brook's getting smashed, man. Look, I really like Kell Brook.
I'm joking, Sherry. I'm joking.
I know. Oh man, I'm gonna start talking about Kell Brook and Golovkin again. Anyway, so yeah. Best of luck to Charlie Edwards. Look, any British fighter who fights for a world championship, I'm gonna back them. Whether it's logical or not, I'll back them. And believe it or not, going back to Kell Brook Golovkin, I want Kell Brook to win. Not because I want Golovkin to lose, but because he's a British fighter, and you know what, he's daring to be great. And if he does it, can you imagine the significance of that in boxing? And he'd probably shoot straight up to the best pound fighter in the world, wouldn't he? If he did something crazy like that. So any British fighters, I will back them all the way, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, lots of boxing on this weekend, actually. I know there's been a lot to talk about in terms of fights being made, stuff going on outside of the ring. It's actually a lot of major fights that possibly haven't got the attention they deserve online due to all of the stuff going on outside the ring. So we'll come to the Box Nation card in a little bit, because I think that's got a few gems in it, actually. But before we do, we should mention, and isn't it remarkable that we're 1 hour and 15 minutes in, and the WBC heavyweight world title being fought for this weekend hasn't even come up yet. But we're talking about, obviously, Deontay Wilder versus Chris Arreola. Tom, I can see you've unmuted yourself, so I'll let you loose, mate.
He's burning.
Oh, man.
I assume you love the fight.
Well, I actually don't mind the fight, but like Chris Arreola, I was listening to some podcast or something, and there was a guy, I think it might be the Boxing Coalition, and he was saying that he was actually there when Arreola was sparring 2 weeks ago, and Arreola wasn't able to do 3 rounds of sparring.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, so that tells you what's going to happen. So it's like the Blob against the Beanpole. I think I think Arreola is shot, so I think he might actually be stopped reasonably early. And if not, how long is it going to take for your man to beat the crap out of him? Or I mean, how much punishment can he take? It's just if you go back 3-4 years ago for Arreola, it's a good fight, but I don't think he's actually been trying. He looks like in any of the last fights I've seen him in, the last 5 fights probably, he looks like he's just getting paychecks and hardly training. He's struggling with guys like Kaufman and this, so it's a poor fight. Apparently tickets are going as cheap as $20.
It's amazing, isn't it, really? Yeah. It's amazing how little it's been discussed. Do you know, I'll tell you what, I don't want to keep going back to the Kell Brook thing, and this isn't me being a hater here at all. I've got to say, I give Arreola a bigger chance of beating Deontay Wilder than I do Kell Brook beating Gennady Golovkin, because Chris Arreola is an 18-stone man who punches very, very, very hard. Let me say, when I started off this channel, there was 2 American heavyweights who a lot of people were talking about, and they both had indestructible power. They could both smash down walls. They were both undefeated. They were both 6 foot something, and that was Deontay Wilder and a guy called Seth Mitchell, who most people would have forgotten about by now. But Chris Arreola fought Seth Mitchell, as we know, and smashed him to pieces. I'm not saying I give Arreola any tangible chance here, but I guess Areola's dangerous for 2 or 3 rounds, Tom.
Yeah, no, he has a puncher's chance, but from what we've seen, Wilder can take a good shot. He was getting caught in a lot of his shots. I think Wilder has got a good chin, amazingly. With those legs, how he stays upright at all, regardless of getting hit, is beyond me. He's like a 3-legged stool when somebody broke a leg off. But he's got a puncher's chance, but not a very good one. Not a very good one. Like I don't know what the odds are in this one, but I presume they're extremely short on Wilder. I think they're 1-33 or something like that.
Let me get them up. Actually, I've just got the odds in front of me here. So Won't take me a second to get them up. Yeah. So in terms of the prices, we have got, and I'll keep this up actually because we can certainly discuss that for the English card as well. So Deontay Wilder is best priced, and I don't think I've ever come across this price before. Best price 1-19. Chris Arreola, you can get 14-1 against with Paddy Power. So there you go. That's the. It's a very, very, very heavy market in terms of Wilder's favour, definitely.
Well, WBC, how many shit shows have they allowed him to put on now? Is that 4 bad defences in a row?
It's got to be something like that, hasn't it? Yeah, I mean, there's mitigating circumstances here with the Povetkin stuff, but
they still gave him 3 easy ones before the Povetkin, didn't they? They gave him Duapas, Molina, and the Polish guy.
Oh yeah, Spilka. And this Arreola wasn't even in the rankings. They just allowed him to be chucked in. So it's a dodgy fight. Sorry, let's go over to yourself, mate, for your take on this one, pal. You're probably on mute, mate.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole Chris Arreola and Deontay Wilder fight, I mean, again, I can just echo what you both have said. It's puncher's chance, and it's a very, very limited one. Chris Arreola, though, what I will say, he's never in a dull fight. Whether it's him getting smashed or someone else getting smashed, he's never in a dull fight. But Deontay Wilder, look, he's a massive puncher at heavyweight. Arguably the biggest puncher, in my opinion. He's not the best boxer, but he's just got so much power behind his shots. He's hitting people and he's knocked them out cold before they hit the floor. The one against Spilko was particularly memorable and probably one of the knockouts of the year. But I think Chris Arreola he's a durable guy. He can take a beating. I think Deontay Wilder will stop him or knock him out within like 6 or 7 rounds, similar to what happened last time with Spilko. He'll knock him out before the fight finishes. The full 12 rounds, sorry. But Chris Arreola, like we said, look, he said himself in an interview, I don't deserve this fight. Obviously, look, he's taking an opportunity. Al Heyman clearly likes him. He keeps throwing him on any PBC card that he can. And he's game. He's there to fight. You know what I mean? He's not coming to lose at the end of the day. He had, I think, was it 2 fights against Bermane Stiverne?
Yes.
Yeah. So the guy clearly wants to become a world champion. Whether he deserves to be one, whether he looks like one, I think it's kind of irrelevant. You got to respect his his heart and the fact that he's willing to put it all on the line. So I think Deontay Wilder stops him within 6 or 7 rounds. When it's just, I'm not sure if he's going to knock him out clean, but I think he's going to stop him 100%.
Absolutely. Jet, let's go over to yourself, mate.
Mate, I'm not even interested in this fight. I'm interested in the undercard actually. Fight as Felix Diaz versus Sammy Vasquez at welterweight. That's way more interesting fight. For me, Wilder wins this. Arreola is completely shot. He looks as worse as he's ever been. He got done for marijuana and that sort of stuff, but it's just been like a constant decline for me. He just looks so bad. His face looks pudgy. He just looks awful. He really does, and Wilder will probably just KO him. The undercard, as I said, is a much better fight. So that's all really to say. I echo what Irish Tom and Sherry have said. Really, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some names on the undercard. Sammy Vasquez, he's a very good fighter for anyone who hasn't seen him. 1-7 on. Victor Chinian fighting 1-5 on. Erickson,
he's still going.
What's that? Yeah. Erickson Lubin 1-33 on. Andy Ruiz Jr., who's Chris Arreola's son, as you guys may know, 1-100 on. And also on the undercard in a bizarre fight, Gerald Washington versus the Ghost of Ray Austin. Gerald Washington 1-41 on.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Did you say Ruiz is on this card?
Sorry, Jet. Say that again.
Did you say Andy Ruiz is on this card? I thought
he's either on this card or another American card.
Yeah, I think he's top rank. That's why.
Oh, is he? Yeah. He's on a. It seems he's on a card fighting a guy I haven't heard of called Josh Gormley, and he's at 1-100 on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This can't get any worse.
That sounds like the Brazil.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. What do you call it? I only just realised that areola isn't that the purple bit around your breast?
The what?
You know the areola. You know the purple. Sorry, the purple bit around your nipple. You know the purple bit around the nipple? That's your areola. I've only just copped that on.
That is one of the weirdest comments I've ever heard, and I think we should swiftly move on.
Mate, you were getting some stick for your obscure references to The Walking Dead, but I think that
Man,
Takes the cake.
Does everybody not watch The Walking Dead? Is it just me?
I think it's just you, mate. It's just you.
Fuck
Let's
me.
let's switch the pace. Let's talk the Box Nation card. Just before we get into it, I'll just let you guys know Liam Williams 4-11 on to beat Gary Corcoran, who's 11-4. Terry Flanagan 1-40 on to beat Monkey Fana, who's 16-1, and Guillermo Rigondeaux 1-33 on to beat Yazza Dickens, who's 14-1 against. Sherry, let's go over to yourself on this card, mate. What's the standout for you? Are you looking forward to it?
Well, first of all, I just need to touch on what Irish Tom said. I just googled it, and he's correct. He's a genius.
Is he?
With one R, it is something to do with your breast, but I didn't really read into it. Anyway, so the standout is obviously Rigondeaux. Look, this guy is one of the best fighters in the world, one of the most unfortunate fighters in the world. You can't get a fight, and nobody's actually interested in fighting him. But fair play to Yazza Dickens for taking the fight. He's going to get smashed. Rigondeaux is he's world class. He's for me, arguably, look, he should be on the pound for pound list in terms of his skills, but I don't know if anyone understands what I'm saying. He is on the pound for pound list, I'm sure, in most people's books, but unfortunately he hasn't had the competition, since Nonito Donaire, who he faced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a few years ago, but hopefully we can start seeing him back in the ring again. And him signing with Rockefeller clearly hasn't done anything for him because he's meant to get him some big fights and they haven't delivered for him at all. But I'm sure that's not all their fault. He's just unable to attract any sort of top fighters as well. But I'm not really concerned with anything else on the card. Terry Flanagan fight, I'm very, very disappointed in that. That shouldn't even be allowed to be sanctioned as a bloody world title fight, in my opinion. And that's not, again, I'm not someone who's going to disrespect fighters and say, oh, this guy's a bum. It's not he's a bum. It's just he's not on, he's not the caliber of opponent that someone like a Terry Flanagan should be facing, especially as a world champion. But I'll definitely be tuning in, no doubt about it. But I'm probably going to just tune in for the Flanagan and the Rigondeaux fight because those are the only two fighters who I actually like on that card, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, there's some other names on the card as well. Luke's put in the chat that Bradley Skeet is fighting. He's 1-100 on against Alex Lepele. Tommy Langford is fighting, also 1-100 on. One of my favourite fighters is on the undercard as well. It's a guy called Joe Pigford, who's I think he's a light middleweight prospect from Southampton. And the reason he's my favourite fighter is because when he comes out, the MC uses the phrase, "It's time to release the pig." And then all the crowd starts oinking. It's brilliant. So if you get a chance, what's that?
He's got some power.
He's got some
power.
real power, hasn't he? Yeah, he does.
He's a bit awkward. He's like a shy Carl Froch.
Yeah. But no, I'll tell you what. I saw the IFL TV head-to-head between Terry Flanagan and Fana, and the first thing that occurred to me is Terry Flanagan looks like he's a stone heavier than the opponent. The second thing is, I don't know how old that opponent is, but to me, if I was sitting on a bus, right, and that guy got on the bus, I would say to him, "Sir, do you want to sit down? Do you want to take my seat?" He does not look like he's ready to do 12 in a world title fight.
Why was he pregnant?
42, I think.
Mate, I mean, have a look at him. He looks like he looks like an old man.
Was he pregnant? Was he pregnant, Tom? Yeah.
He wasn't pregnant. No, he was. We haven't got a pregnant person fighting for a world title. It's not that bad, but it's not far from it.
You're not allowed to hit above the belt or below the belt.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The Liam Williams fight at Corcoran. That's a good fight.
Yeah, but is it though? Because who here thinks that there's any chance of Williams getting beat? Williams looks like a real solid fighter to me.
Yeah, 4-11. I've got money on Williams. I think I got him at 1-3. Williams is I really rate Williams. But Corcoran is a tough mother, so I think Corcoran has got very little chance. But it'll be a hell of a good fight, I think, as long as it lasts.
Yeah. I think Williams is decent. Williams is the sort of fighter who could be pushed towards world level, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's better than Liam Smith. If they were fighting in the morning, I'd take Williams over Liam Smith.
Would you?
That should happen next.
Yeah. That may well be a fight that happens at some point. Yeah. What about like Rigondeaux, Tom? Any chance of an upset there?
No, unless he's totally shot. But you know, I'll be watching it. That's all I'm saying. If my feckin' internet's working, I'll be watching it.
Yeah, Jet. Let's switch over to you, mate. A lot to talk about on that card. Feel free to start wherever you see fit, mate.
Yeah, Rigondeaux is obviously on the card. That's probably the main attraction to this card. He'll win pretty handily. I actually saw some funny comments that if Jazza Dickens gets if he nicks one round off Rigondeaux, they're gonna get his tattoo on their arm and that sort of stuff. So yeah, a bit of banter going there. But Rigondeaux is way too good for him. Way too good. I'd expect him, if he puts his foot on the gas, I'd expect him to stop Jazza Dickens. You know, I did see a few comments actually in regards to Rigondeaux. Why doesn't he talk about Moises Flores and, you know, the other sort of guys, and he only talks about people ducking him and that sort of stuff. So, you know, some people, not everyone's on the Guillermo Rigondeaux bandwagon. So, you know, it's interesting to see people's thoughts on him. In terms of talent, he's pound for pound. Certainly, he's a fantastic fighter. But you know, this sort of fight is just a showcase fight for him to defend his WBA world title. In regards to Liam Williams, I agree what you and Irish Tom said. He's fantastic. I always thought that you know, Frank would probably put him in with Liam Smith, and it'd be a good domestic fight and a world title fight after he won the belt. So after the Radosevich fight, I didn't think obviously he would be fighting Canelo next. So yeah, that would have been a good fight, but I expect him to win that fight. Who else is on the card? Terry Flanagan or
Yeah.
fight. You know, I have to force myself to watch that, but you know, Fana's obviously like he's the Fanny man who got beaten by Barrera about 50 years ago or something like that. So you know, it's just that's awful. You know, all the fights on the card. You know, people give. I'm not an Eddie Hearn nut hugger or anything like that. I've said credit where credit's due. I don't necessarily like one promoter more than the other, but you know, Eddie Hearn. We all give him stick for having these 1 to 100 or TBAs and that. This is just as bad, to be honest. Like all the guys that are, you know, favorites are pretty much dead certs to win, and you know, it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest thing, but you know, we kind of have to look at it and you know, go, are we really paying Box Nation fee for this sort of card? We pay for the international fee, international fights, yes, certainly, but these sort of fights, they're you know, Frank Warren flagship. You know, on a channel, they're awful, really.
I've got to agree with you there, Jet, and I'm going to choose my words extremely carefully here. But what I will say is that some of the promotion for this card has confused me, and I'll tell you why. You've got Bradley Skeet, who I think most of us would agree is a real decent prospect who should be in a big fight. We've got Skeet coming off a career-high performance, absolutely embarrassing Sam Eglinton, live on Sky, and getting a big away victory. Then we've had Bradley Skeet drop off the face of the planet for, 6 months, and appearing as a 1 to 100 shot, you know, early on the bill, on an undercard in Wales. For me, that is odd. You know, you'd have thought Bradley Skeet would have been moved to a big fight towards a world title fight. Let's put that to a side. You've then got Terry Flanagan, a world champion, you know, a guy who many consider as the top lightweight in the world. And he's fighting on an undercard in Wales. And then you've got a headline act between Liam Williams and Gary Corcoran. You know, it's a decentish fight, and then you've got pound for pound number one appearing somewhere down the bill. I mean, how many tickets? You know, this is.
I tell you, Tom.
Choose my words carefully. It is strange.
Yeah, I think it's a setup for, like, your man. Rumor has it that that Terry Flanagan has got a very big fight coming up in the Klitschko undercard in October.
Against who though? Against who? If
I don't know, but I've heard it said that he's been lined up. Like Liam Smith fought Radosevich Yeah, because I think the plan is, like, I'm just talking promotion, why they're doing it is because they know that they're going to try and get that big fight, so they want a zero risk fight, and then they're putting them into a big one. And I think the same is happening for some of I'd say the same thing has happened with Bradley Skeet. They're waiting to put him onto to world level. Like, it happens a lot. Like, you get a guy who's, a mandatory contender, and they're waiting there for a year before they get a shot, And I just think it's that kind of holding. They're in a holding position where they're putting them in with dross. But I think it's I think there'll be some little good fights. I think the Gary Corcoran Williams fight is a good fight. I think that's a really good. That'll be an exciting fight however long it lasts.
It is a good fight, mate. But do you think even Gary Corcoran believes that arguably pound for pound number one and arguably the best lightweight in the world, who's a world champion, should be fighting on his undercard?
Yeah, no, but it's all about who sells tickets, and it's all about, I think they're setting Rigondeaux up to fight Zolani Tete. That's what I expect.
Yeah.
And this is just getting him on the undercard, and just getting the fans and getting it built up, and they're going to put him in with a fight and pay him some good money to do that fight.
Frank's had, shocking, we talk about Eddie Hearn's had a good couple of weeks and months making the big fights, White Allen, Brook, Golovkin, Corlin and Arias, those sort of fights. Frank's had a shocker apart from Liam Smith, Canelo. I mean,
Brook Golovkin, I don't agree with you. I think Brook Golovkin might do money, but it's a shit fight.
In terms of the branding, it's got out there. Do you know what I mean? It's out to the mainstream public. Golovkin and Brook, everyone's talking about it now. Chris Eubank.
They'll be talking about it, but everybody will be shitting on that fight when it's finished.
No, but do you know what I'm trying to say? But Frank Warren hasn't done anything apart from Liam.
Yeah, but Frank doesn't have he just doesn't have the fighters at the moment.
He doesn't have the finances. Yeah,
he doesn't have the fighters. Like, and look, we got Liam Smith that big shot, and that's pretty big. And I think, in fairness, I think Billy Joe Saunders is on that undercard, and then Billy Joe Saunders is supposed to.
I heard he's not on it anymore. He was supposed to fight David Lemieux on that undercard, but I heard he's not on it.
Well, maybe not. Well, I don't think it's David Lemieux. I think it was somebody else.
It was Hassan Ndam, I think, and Ndam's fighting at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So, and Ndam probably wouldn't beat him. But I heard he's headlining his own show on Box Nation, so,
Maybe not. Maybe not. But the rumor was that he was supposed to be there, and then he was supposed to be next in line for Canelo. Well, that's true or not.
I heard that too, yeah. I heard that too.
So, in fairness, Frank only has so many big name fighters. If he gets one of them in with Canelo and the next one in with Canelo, that's... Anyway, I don't... fuck this talking about promoters bullshit.
No, I didn't. I just thought, he just hasn't really made anything apart from Liam Smith, Canelo. So I haven't really, I haven't really seen any interviews from.
If he makes Rigondeaux versus Teddy, then we'll have a fucking heyday here on this podcast.
Yeah, it's spot on.
Yeah, Jet. I was going to ask, is the Glowacki Usyk fight confirmed? Is it?
Yeah, I was actually on the upcoming fight. It's fightnights.com. And I was just looking down, and it's actually been made. Joseph Parker's actually fighting on Thursday. Sam Solomon's fighting on the same day. So it shows you all the fights. That's been confirmed for September 17th. So, big fight.
Is that breaking news, is that?
No, they were in talks.
I
know, obviously, I know all of the divisions, I follow it and whatnot. But they were in talks, and obviously Usyk's the WBO mandatory. But as far as I know, the fight wasn't confirmed or anything. They hadn't set like a TV date and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Not televised, but
that's a good fight, boys.
That's a serious fight, isn't it? I mean, the winner of that fight, for me, you're looking at pound for pound top 5 conversation. That is the dominant fighter of that division. Forget what Tony Bellew says about him being the number one cruiserweight. Sorry, let's bring yourself in on that one, mate. Glowacki Usyk. What's your take on that one? Do you have a pick?
Yeah, I think Usyk is a very good fighter, obviously, but I saw this. I think Jet retweeted it as well. Jet, did you see the that tweet with Usyk and Lomachenko with that pulling the glove down?
I think so. Yeah, I've seen it somewhere. Yeah, I think
there's a little skill that him and Lomachenko both got, which
I know what he's talking about actually.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. So obviously he's got some very, very slick skills up his sleeve for a cruiserweight. But I think Glowacki is a very, very good cruiserweight. He's done very well so far as a relatively, I'd say, unknown guy until he knocked out Hook. Hook, how are you going to pronounce his name, last year in a great fight. But I think Glowacki will take the fight. I think he's got more experience, and I think when you're a champion, you've got that extra percentage of confidence in yourself, and you want to will yourself on to win. And I think it's a very good fight between two very, very good boxers. But I think Glowacki will take it.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes him number one in the division, because that division is so stacked. You have to do more to clear out a division than just beat. Like Hook is a bit past it, and then you beat a guy who's got 10 fights. If Kovalev does beat him, you'd say he might be the top guy, but I don't think you can just say he's pound for pound, because you have to have more than 2 results on your card.
Did I say? Sorry, did I say he was pound for pound? I don't know.
No, Tom. I think
sorry. I thought I said it. Sorry, I thought I said it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the winner of this fight is a serious position, as these things go. And if you talk about like a mandate for who's the number one, look at Glowacki obviously beat Marco Hook. It was clear number one.
Well,
Usyk is widely regarded as one of the hottest prospects out there. I think the winner of this fight is.
Tell him to let you come and go. You know what I mean?
No, I'm just looking at it. I promise I
Oh,
You need to mute yourself
let me
there,
mute. Sorry, I've stuck him on mute. Yeah. So, Jet, what's your take on that one, mate?
yeah, mate, fantastic fight. I thought I saw it on the website, so I thought I'd get you guys on in on it. A fantastic fight. For me, Usyk, I think, wins that fight. When I watched him at London 2012, actually, I watched that, and mate, he was fantastic. Some of the things he does, and what Sherry was saying, they have him and Lomachenko do this sort of thing where they kind of they not pull down, but they kind of like leave the jab, or they do a punch at the guy at the opponent's side of the head, left or right, and then they kind of just put it out there as like a faint sort of punch, and then they kind of move their head and then go in for like a combination. It's fantastic. Usyk has some serious skills, and for me, if should he win this fight, he's the best in the division by far. He's a fantastic fighter. I mean, there's some great fighters in that cruiserweight. Grigory Zod, Maurice Bridis, Tony Bellews also holding the belt. Denis Lebedev still going strong. Machunu, Makabu, those sort of guys. They're in and around there. Kudrashov.
Hook.
There's a lot of fighters. Huck, yeah. There's loads and loads of fighters, and it's a division going strong because the guys have the athleticism that the heavyweights may not have, but they also have the punch power. So yeah, mate, I think Usyk wins that fight. I wouldn't say he stops him. I don't think he has that sort of concussive knockout power, but he has good, respectable power. But I think he'll probably win a wide UD for me. That's my thoughts on that.
Interesting stuff. Guys, we've kind of hit the topics that we wanted to cover tonight. Let's do a quick round of panel before we call it a night. Sorry, I don't know. I've got you on mute, mate. If you can unmute yourself, I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss before we wrap it up, mate. You are on mute, mate.
Yeah. I guess. What month are we now? Oh, we've only got I think we're a week and a half or 2 weeks away from Crawford Postal. Did we discuss that?
Yeah, we probably haven't discussed it yet. I think we discussed it in passing. I'll whack that on the list for one of the topics the week before. Yeah, that's certainly a big one. Yeah.
I guess we could touch on the whole the very quiet negotiations for Pacquiao Broner.
Yeah, that's rumoured at present, isn't it?
Apparently, Marum doesn't want to pay him the extortionate amount of money, and Broner goes, sorry to cut you off, PG.
No, go for it, mate.
He goes, F you. I might as well say it. He goes, fuck you. I'm worth this much amount of money, and you're not paying me it. So Bob Arum just took him out of the race to face Pacquiao. But apparently Pacquiao's manager or agent or something said he wants to come back. So anything's possible in boxing.
But Pacquiao released a statement on his official Facebook saying that they're all false and that he's not interested in coming back. So I don't know. It's very confusing.
Well, you never know. These boxers say one thing and do another thing. So we've seen it with the Eubank thing, where behind the scenes is all different. We can have one thing, but so they say one thing, but then the management team or the promoter comes out with a different thing. So we never know really.
Absolutely. Tom, anything further from your end, mate?
I just thought we should say something about Paul, who's suffering today. He's got a very bad dose of venereal disease, so I hope you get better, Paul.
Shout out.
That's very very charitable of you, Tom. Yeah,
Thanks.
our regular correspondent, Paul, our Midlands correspondent, can't join us today. But Paul, if you're listening, he's not feeling very well, so you get better soon.
I've got one thing to say, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
There is a fight this week on Wednesday when we're doing the podcast. Jesse Magdaleno, who's a prospect, he's fighting. He's fighting this Saturday. So no, forget that one. Shingo Wake is fighting Jonathan Guzman for the IBF Super Bantamweight title that Frampton vacated. So that might be a potential fight for Rigondeaux or Scott Quigg, who's actually coming back in November time. So yeah, that might be something we could talk about next time, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. We'll put that on the to-do list. But no, guys, I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to next week's podcast already, where we will be discussing Rigondeaux getting turned over by Jazza Dickens. We will be discussing Chris Arreola knocking out Deontay Wilder. We'll be discussing Joe Pigford and the release of the pigs in Wales. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks to everyone who's joined live tonight. Thanks to everyone in the live chat. If you've enjoyed it, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up button, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out Jet's channel as well, Boxing Discussions. Guys, I've enjoyed it as always. Thanks everyone. And
Sorry,
thanks.
Tom.
Yeah.
One thing, just if I just want to say that I was very sad to see the back of David Cameron. That's all I'd like to say.
And on that note,
have a good week, everyone, and we'll be back next week at 8:30. Cheers, guys.
Ciao,
Bye.
Tom. Bye. See
Bye.
you, boys.